I'm Rania Sukar, as Kareen said. I lead MailChimp as well as the money portfolio here at QuickBooks. And I have been here now for almost 7 years. And as a result, have had the privilege to get to know so many small businesses over time. And every time I meet one, I'm in awe of their passion, in awe of the way they approach business. And it's always interesting to hear about the challenges they face. And it gives us all a ton of excitement to think about how we can help solve those challenges at QuickBooks. So that's been a lot of fun. I'm excited. I, like Kareen, got to sample some of the products. And this morning I came back. I was in Atlanta this week. I came back from traveling and I got to relax with my new candle from Paige's Candle Company. But this one has sea salt, charred orange, and chili pepper. And I've just been enjoying it throughout the day. And then this morning, I opened up the jams that I got from Trade Street Jams. And my kids loved the blueberry, lemon, and basil because it was sweet. And I loved the strawberry, chipotle, and fig because the flavor was so sophisticated and different. So it was a lot of fun. It meant I was late to meetings and I'm wearing pajamas still under because I was so busy with my kids sampling jams, but that was a lot of fun. So I'd love to get started and turn it over to our small business owners and to Ashley and Paige and hear a little bit from them. So if we can start with Ashley, I'd love to hear from both of you a little bit about you, a little bit about your business. And if you could tell us a little bit about the moment you decided you wanted to get started with your business. Maybe we start with you, Ashley.
Sure. Thank you, guys. First of all, thanks for having me, Rania. I'm glad you got the jam and that you enjoyed it. And I had some of Paige's candles too. And I will tell you, don't go shopping on there if you're hungry because you want to eat the flavors. Like they sound so good, like food. I bought like 4 candles. What's up, you guys? I'm Ashley Rouse. I'm the owner and founder of Trade Street Jam Company. We make low sugar, clean label, vegan jams, hot sauces, biscuit mixes, and mocktail mixes. And I've been a chef for about 18 years now. Went to culinary school, started the company as a hobby. You know, I really loved like jamming on the side and started an Etsy store and like selling on Facebook, and people were buying it. And I was like, I should start a business out of this. And then maybe about a year later, my husband was like, you should probably quit your job and do this full time. And if it wasn't for him, I probably would have went a whole another year trying to do both, work a 9 to 5 and do the jam. But I quit my job and started doing it full time. Gosh, maybe 3 years ago, going on 4 years ago now. And yeah, the rest is history. I am exhausted and happy, and yeah, life of an entrepreneur.
It's amazing to have had that support and that push. That was an extraordinary part of the story. What about you, Paige?
Hi, I'm Paige, the founder and creative director of Paige's Candle Co. We hand make vegan soy wax candles and natural products. A portion of our sales are donated to City Harvest. It's a local nonprofit in New York City that helps feed hungry New Yorkers in need. We partnered with City Harvest back in 2020. Before then, we were donating candle making workshops to inner city communities. And I'm very passionate about inner city communities in general because I grew up in one in the Bronx. And I knew about 11 years ago when I started candle making that whatever I did with business, I wanted to really work within my community specifically and other communities that generally don't have access to arts or crafts in general. And so Paige's Candle Co. heavily contributes to nonprofits as much as we can. And we also work with small businesses for white label and private label services and workshops.
That element of giving back to the community was one of the most wonderful things I discovered as I read about both of your businesses. It's common, it's shared, and it's so special to think both about the passion that you brought to the business. They're both purpose-driven businesses in the type of work you're doing. You're running a business and you're helping the community at the same time. And that blend makes it meaningful and so purposeful, and it's really inspiring and energizing. So that was really neat to see. Ashley, I'd love to start with you and ask you, tell us what you love about being a small business owner and small business life. You know, a minute ago, you said it's both exhausting and something like exhilarating. You used different words. So it's what makes it worth it, given how exhausting, and I know it is.
You know what, to be honest, I think over the years, it kind of evolves just like we all do and like our business does. So the reasons for being in business, I think for me kind of evolve as the years go on. But I think where I'm at right now, the thing I love most about it is just being the flexibility of my schedule, right? Like I spent so many years working in back of the house, right? Kitchens, hotels, restaurants, working every holiday, working every night, every weekend. And it was just, it was exhausting work. And so being able to kind of have that flexibility in my schedule, I have two small children. I think that's most important for me. Like work-life balance is always a challenge. And so being able to have that just a little bit, is everything. So I think just that flexibility in my schedule is like really, really important as a small business owner.
Got it. And I totally understand that with two kids. I saw one of the pictures of your kids, I think in the box that was delivered. Was that your one of your children that you were feeding the jam to?
Yeah.
Nice to see.
Yeah.
And then Paige, how do you think about success? How do we debate that a lot at Intuit because we talk about powering prosperity. And we've been very careful in the words because different small businesses think about success differently. But for you, how would you define that?
Well, for me and Paige's Candle Co., it's working within inner city communities. Of course, staying above water is important always, but as long as I'm still sticking to my mission of working within the New York City community, that's beautiful. It's very fulfilling. It's Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why, and that's very, very important, in my opinion, that businesses should always stick to their mission. And as long as I feel fulfilled and super successful, no matter what's going on in the world with delays and shipments not showing up. Working within the communities, it's really important for me.
I love that. And I think having clarity on purpose and doing meaningful work gives you an unbounded amount of energy. And so being a small business owner is intense and it's exhausting, as you just alluded to, but that sense of purpose and true north makes a ton of sense in terms of what keeps you going and how you define success. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I love that answer, by the way, because people always ask me, like, how does it feel to be successful? And I'm always like, since when am I successful? No, but it's important. It is important to have focus, right? I think the focus and the clarity is so important because otherwise you get so caught up in the day-to-day and trying to keep the business afloat and you don't even remember, where you are.
For sure. And take a step back and take stock because you're in it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ashley, how do you think about evolving your business and keeping the momentum going? How do you think about that? And what does that look like for you?
I think for me, like I love innovation. I think that's like a big passion point for me, like being a chef, having everything be super culinary inspired. That was always like the focus. And so for me to kind of build momentum, it's a lot of it's about innovation, right? Creating new funky flavors, keeping up with the trends are really important, like food trends. As a chef, that's something that's how you kind of stay successful, is keeping up with what's going on. And so being able to create new flavors and things like that around like food trends, that just kind of keeps the momentum going. And then we're really big on Instagram. So that allows us to kind of like do these fun reels about new products, the little dances on Instagram, all the stuff that the people want to see. But all that keeps us, keeps the momentum going. I hate the dancing, by the way. Like, my brand manager is always like, can you please send me a reel with you like dancing or like spinning around, like changing an outfit? And I'm just like, my God. But it's fun and people love it. So that's how we kind of keep some.
I have a feeling everybody's now searching Instagram for you as we speak to see those dances. It sounds amazing.
I'm a hyper introvert, so that I would just melt.
Same Paige. I always joke that I'm an extroverted introvert. So like you won't really know that I'm an introvert. Like you'll think it looks cool, but like on the inside I'm dying. I'm like, why am I doing this?
All with that sense of purpose. It can get you to dance like that.
Yeah.
How do you come up with these new flavors? I mean, I was thinking about that as I was trying the strawberry chipotle fig this morning. How do you come up with those ideas?
I'm super inspired by especially when I recently moved to Georgia, but when I was in Brooklyn, I was there for 10 years. super inspired by the food, the art, the music, the maker culture. Like there's no place like Brooklyn and New York City. And so even just like restaurant menus, I would get inspired by cocktail menus. I'm a big like cocktail aficionado. So when we go out for drinks, I see like these different drink, combinations with figs and strawberries and a spice element. And I might say, oh man, that would be a dope jam. So I just get inspired by everything around me in the environment.
So cool. We all get to be the beneficiaries of that. And then Paige, what about you? What was your first product and how has it evolved over time?
So I've been candle making for about 11 years. My company, Pages Candle Co., has been in business for 5, but back 11 years ago, I created Earl Grey, which is actually my bestseller. So that's pretty cool that the first candle.
We're on to something to start.
Yeah, that the first tried and true, not seasonal candle has been popular all of these years. I had a business in my early 20s and I didn't really understand the schematics of business at that point. So I started Pages Candle Co. again, but Earl Grey has been tried and true. So it's a really classic aroma that I'm pretty proud of.
That's incredible. So what do you think what do you think it took to get that first winning product? Just good intuition?
Stress, crying in the mirror, frustration, grit, blood, tears. At the time when I started candle making, there weren't a lot of YouTube videos like today. Like you could literally find anything on YouTube now. At that time, there weren't a lot of makers that were so forthcoming with how to make a candle. And so developing aromas, and I guess it just took months and months of just research and just passion, and then I birthed Earl Grey and all the other aromas, of course, but I just think it was my dedication to the craft that I made it successful. At least I like to.
Along those lines, I'd love to hear from both of you, how do you actually run your business from a outsourcing versus insourcing perspective? So who's actually producing the goods for you? How do you think about that? And then how do you think about fulfilling it all and managing it all? What does that process of doing what you do look like?
Well, we hand make our candles and natural products in our studio in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. So we don't outsource production. Of course, we outsource jars. We don't manufacture jars in our facility or paper products. So we definitely have a hands-on approach to the product. We outsource locally when we need to. And so we really value working with local communities. So, and that also helps to keep costs down because everything is usually within our proximity. As far as giant projects, if we were to have massive orders, we would then approach maybe a manufacturing facility. But with our current facility, we can make in one day up to 1,000 candles. So wow. We're pretty flexible, and it's not just from hands. We use commercial equipment, which helps. It's not like we're cooking over a stove. We have what looks like giant crock pots. They're wax melters, and that definitely helps us create and batch products.
How many employees do you have to run all this?
5.
Okay, impressive. And what about you, Ashley? What does that look like?
So for us, we definitely have a manufacturer or co-packer that handles the production for us. So I started making the jam in our tiny little Brooklyn apartment, and I was making maybe 20 jars at a time. And then after about 6 months, we moved to a shared kitchen where myself, my husband, and any free labor I could find, friends, family, would make jam with us. And we could make about couple hundred jars in an 8-hour shift, maybe 2, maybe 300 jars. But then after about 6 months, we outgrew that as well. So now we have a manufacturer, one in PA and one in Minnesota, who helps us produce the jams. Now we can make about 6,000 jars in a shift. So it's really crucial, in order for us to grow. We were doing all these like farmers markets and things like that, and we were just running out of jam. Like everything we'd made in the shared kitchen, one day we'd be wiped out. So the manufacturer has been crucial for our growth for sure.
It's fun to see and to hear you each outgrowing each phase and then just continuing to expand further. It's exciting to see that. So let's talk about how you use QuickBooks and MailChimp in the case of Paige to run your business. Ashley, would love to start with you. How do you use QuickBooks and what problems is it solving for you in your business and what's it helping you do?
So I use QuickBooks Online to pretty much run everything that has to do with our financials. It was great starting off before we got like a CFO and a bookkeeper to help us. I know Paige and I were talking about that last time, but it's crucial to kind of grow with that, right? You need help. You need another set of eyes looking at your business. But starting off, the thing I loved about QuickBooks is how user-friendly it was. So I was able to manage everything by myself, keep an eye on the financials. I'm not a super analytical person and I just like hated looking at the numbers, but obviously you have to learn to be good at everything when you're a business owner as much as you can anyway. And so it really helped me kind of grow and evolve until we were able to get a bookkeeper and an accountant to look at everything. But we use QuickBooks to, everything, right? Our P&Ls, keep an eye on that, send our invoices. We used to use it for payroll and we're actually coming back to using it in a couple of months. Actually, at the start of the year, we'll be using it again for payroll. I love how easy it is to keep an eye on your payroll and make adjustments as needed. So we'll be coming back to that. And then also a big fan of QuickBooks Capital. It has saved us, especially through this past year has just been really, really hard for us. We're still getting so much blowback from COVID, right? Like I thought that was like, oh, 2020 was bad, 2021, but like there's still so many things. And with rising costs, inflation, raw materials, it's hard to source them. When you can source them, they're super expensive. And I feel like finding capital, like sourcing capital as a small business, especially as a woman of color and as a woman-owned business, right? And a Black-owned business, it's just so hard to source capital. And so QuickBooks Capital has been awesome. It's like such a smooth and quick process. I got the money in like one day. And that's helped us be able to source raw materials so that we can continue to produce products. So it's been awesome.
You're almost bringing tears to my eyes. My team established QuickBooks Capital when I first joined QuickBooks 7 years ago. And it was exactly for that use case, to fuel incredibly deserving entrepreneurial businesses who didn't want to go through a 6-month process to apply for capital. And even put aside the time, the likelihood of any new early stage business is they'd get rejected. And so I'm so happy to hear that it's serving the purpose it intended to serve.
Yeah. And it's easy. You know what I mean? Like we've raised money, we've gone that route and raised through investors. We're actually currently doing a WeFunder campaign and doing a crowdsourcing raise. But this was, all those things take so much time, so much energy, so much effort. You have to like reach out to people and email, all these things, which is fine. But with QuickBooks Capital, like you don't have to do any of that. You literally apply, you get it like the next day. It's just like, it literally can be a lifesaver in tough times like now.
Amazing. That thrills us. And that's why we come to work every day. So we're thrilled to hear that. What about you, Paige? Tell us about the tools you use across QuickBooks and MailChimp.
So for QuickBooks, pardon me, I utilize payroll, invoices, and payments. So we use the payment processing when we are vending in-person markets. And I really like how everything is seamless and just compiled together, especially for my accountant, because like Ashley, I am not a numbers person. And so everything in one place is crucial. As far as MailChimp, I love MailChimp. Like, you guys, it's like my other employee. My favorite aspects of MailChimp are the analytics that are provided. It's really important for me and my team to measure conversion rates and open rates and target what customers are not just purchasing, but customers who aren't, so we can develop campaigns to target those specific customers, which brings me to the automation. So my brain is fried on, okay, how do I create this copy for this type of customer or this type of customer? And with automations, it's really awesome. I can target specific customers based on their open rates and their purchase activity through my website. So MailChimp syncs wonderfully with Shopify. And it's just overall a great way for us to make revenue. And we track that with MailChimp, we have increased our sales, especially for Black Friday, significantly. So it really is an excellent marketing tool and ways for us to just stay afloat during these times, which is really amazing. And we also announce a lot of product drops as well. So that's another way MailChimp is very helpful for Pages Candle Co.
We love that. And it's so wonderful to hear the love you have for the brand and the experience, and then the impact it's having on your business. I think that touches all of our hearts in a big way. So that's incredible. How would you love QuickBooks and MailChimp to work together? Can you see any use cases where you'd love them to plug in together? Because our teams are thinking about that. And since you use both offerings, would love to hear your thoughts about how they could work even better together for you.
So that's an excellent question. Integration for one, with my back end. It would be great just to have, or just to categorize transactions through QuickBooks. So it's better for bookkeeping. So I know what to invest in properly instead of me manually having to collect the data. So if it was a way that it could be funneled into QuickBooks, that would be amazing, actually. That's a great question.
Yeah, we think there's a lot we can do as we bring these offerings together. So
that's great.
Ashley, what do you use to do your marketing automation for your customers? How do you think about that?
What tools do we use?
Yeah.
So we actually used to use MailChimp, and I used MailChimp for probably the first 3 years of my business, and loved it. Our email marketing person actually switched us over to Klaviyo. So that's what we use now.
Next week for an in-depth conversation about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, that we hear that sometimes, and it helps us get stronger. So it's all good for you to share why. Don't worry.
Yeah. I was like, look, to be honest, I didn't want to switch over because I had been using MailChimp for so long and it's so user friendly. And so I loved it just as much as Paige did, but she like pretty much forced us. But we've seen success through there as well. So we use that for all of our newsletters and our SMS and things like that.
Got it. Well, no, it helps us to hear that. And so it's, it always helps us get better when we hear that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Does MailChimp offer SMS as well?
We will in the next 3 months. So stay tuned.
We'll nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That was another, I know Klaviyo does the SMS, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it can link through Shopify. I've seen that. I like the layouts a lot and the customizations on MailChimp, which I'm a very visual person. So that's why I've stayed with
for sure. But the SMS will be a nice like benefit page for you guys to like start. And we just started doing it, but we, so many companies have seen so much success with the SMS. So we just started, we might've been doing it for almost a year now. So it's kind of like a slow growth depending on kind of how you roll it out. But I think that'll be a huge benefit for sure.
For sure. Great. All right. Well, you are both very busy individuals. How do you think about well-being and managing your very busy business life with the rest of your life? Might all blend together, but how do you do it all? And
don't ask me. Don't ask me. I don't know. I lose my mind every day. I lose my mind over again. Really, it's all about balance. I think, and I'm probably skipping ahead, but I know one of the questions Brittany had asked before was like your best piece of advice, and it always changes for me because I get so much advice. But one piece of advice has just been to pour into yourself before you pour into others, and I just think it's so important. I heard it before, but it really resonates now because I feel like grind culture is such a thing that's like forced on us, right? Especially like when you live in New York, everyone's like, are you grinding? Are you on your grind? Like you're hustling, you're working hard. And like, I think working hard and grinding aren't necessarily synonymous. And so being able to still work hard, right? And put your all into your business, but not grind yourself into the ground, And so pouring into myself is how I manage my well-being. Like, I have children, I'm always pouring into them. I'm a wife, I'm always pouring into my husband. And so just like I've started taking Fridays. I don't take any calls on Fridays. My calendar's blocked and I make it like a mental health day, and I'll go get like my nails done or my hair done or a massage, or like sometimes I'll just sit and do nothing, but I try to do as little work as possible on Fridays and don't take calls. That's just like a little thing I'm doing for myself, and just really trying to take care of myself. Like as I get older, I'm just like, if I don't take care of myself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, like this business will not grow. So
that is so wise, because I totally understand how we're all taking care of everyone around us.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
Perspective.
I heard that you get your nails done. I'm like, wow, what's that like?
Well, you know what? I do my own nails, but you're doing the candles and stuff.
Yeah,
You got to do something, like whatever it is. It could be a pedicure. You can get your toes done, girl. You don't make candles with your toes.
I did give myself one last night, and it was funky colors. And it was like, okay, I'll stick to candle making. This is a little weird. I do get my nails done after Christmas, and then just for 2 weeks, and then back to the grind. But yeah, I mean, like Ashley said, self-care is very important. And the way that I manage, I am now trying my best to work just 40 hours a week. And that sounds a little ridiculous, but when you're a business owner, your mind isn't ever off. You're always thinking of new ways to innovate or create products, or think about like a past due invoice or anything like that. But I've noticed that my work is way more organized. I'm more efficient when I have a normal work week. And after 6 p.m., that's it. No emails. I'm not looking at them. Of course, there's exceptions if I'm working on a rush order or something like that. But having 2 days off a week, that has changed my life.
I love that. And that makes a ton of sense. I, for example, try to log off at 5:30 every day so that I can actually fall asleep at night. Because if I go late at night, my brain doesn't shut off and it's impossible to sleep. So
and that's where the flexibility comes into play too, because some weeks I might have to work like a 60-hour week. I might have to, but then like there's weeks where I kid you not, I might work like 15 or 20 hours. I'm just like, I can't do it this week. I can't do it. Like they have to be able to manage it without me. I can't do it. But the ability to do that is like, you have to have that. Like you need that for your soul, you know? And I think when you have a 9 to 5, sometimes it can be hard to do. So
I love that perspective too. You're listening to your body and what you can do, and that keeps you going. So really good advice. Well, you guys have given us great advice about how you balance despite being extraordinarily busy and being so driven to drive tremendous impact to the world around you. Paige, I'd love to hear what keeps you up at night.
As of right now, clients that want corporate gifting in a week. And although we can produce candles, like I mentioned before, we rely on other companies for paper products. So boxes and custom labels, embossing and things like that. So that's just working with other companies to make sure that they can produce fast, and understanding the time constraints right now because it is busy season. So I have a few clients that are just needing things fast, and it's just wondering, okay, how do I make this happen? So that's just now. But generally this year I have been really more organized. So I haven't have a lot of stresses. It's just as of late, these clients are just wanting things now.
And I can imagine it's so hard to forecast. That's the challenge. It's like, not that, you're going to have 5x the demand in this period and you solve for it. It depends on the season, your own product offering, what's happening. And so it comes last minute. And so that's what causes, I'm just imagining all of this as you describe that.
Yeah, like the past few years, there were jar shortages. Luckily, I'm so impressed by my suppliers. My stock has been great. But there's a paper shortage. And so, I don't know, especially when you reach a certain tier of clientele that wants a particular type of stock of paper, embossing, which is very, very expensive. These types of things, it's a wild card. So I just at night, like, please be in stock. Please produce quickly. So that's my insomnia lately.
And Ashley, you alluded to that too earlier when you said COVID just keeps on leading to ramifications and ripple effects.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit
on giving?
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges you're experiencing in running your business.
I mean, Paige touched on it, like the jar shortages. We've seen that since 2020. We have like this, fancy hexagon jar, and it's so hard to get it. I mean, even early on in COVID, like a lot of restaurants were doing these to go drinks and and they were just putting it in jars. And so the jar shortage just was nuts. And even now it's just like, it's really hard. There's really long lead times. You know, lead times is another thing, like just getting anything produced takes so much longer now. And then during this season, you can forecast, but then you get all the corporate gifting customers, right, who reach out. And, you know, we had someone reach out like 2 weeks ago and they were like, oh, we need like 3,500 strawberry jams, but we need them, you know, in 2 weeks. And we don't keep that kind of stock for customers like that. But, you know, you need the money, right? Like I said, like, it's all about the money. You need the capital. You can't bring in the money if you don't have money to make the products. And that's always like a constant struggle. So being able to just keep up, right? Like keep the cycle going. Like I said, capital is always an issue. We're doing this like WeFunder crowdsourcing thing. And it's been great. Like our community, our Jamilies, what we call them, like they give anything from like $100 to $1,000. And like every little bit counts. And so, you know, our goal is 250K, but we raised last year 600K, and that 600K was supposed to get us to, you know, 1.5 million in revenue this year. And it didn't get us there because we didn't expect all of these issues that I just mentioned, like with the shortages. And so we've had to buy raw materials in bulk because it's like, if we don't buy them now, there may not be jars. So where we thought maybe 100K was going to go into marketing, now 100K is just buying a bunch of jars and paying to store them. So it's just like, it's an ongoing thing. So like, that's what keeps me up at night. Our end goal is to sell this company for $100 million within the next 10 years. And so like, what keeps me up at night is like, how am I going to get there? Like, it's easy for me to say this goal. I've been saying this for years, but like, how am I going to get there? So that's what really keeps me up at night.
It's so cool that you have such clarity on your version of what success looks like too. So that's, you know, inspiring, and you think about it in multifaceted ways, but that's powerful. And then also just hearing you both talk, the complexity of the work you're doing is mind-boggling. You know, you're thinking about the product and, you know, the creativity that goes into the product, and you're thinking about how you're going to get financing and how your business is performing, and then making sure you've got the inventory to service your customers. It's so many balls in the air.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But you know, it's interesting the way you say it, because when you're in it, you're just thinking about all these things. But when you step back, it's like, oh, we're really boss BITCHESs. I don't know if I can say that.
I love it. I love it.
So
true. I love it.
Like, how much can your brain retain? And it's just like, oh, wow, no, we're actually doing it. And yes, we're not necessarily thriving, we're surviving. And that's pretty awesome right now in the world.
You're thriving, and you can see the see celebration and admiration from our team with all these celebration and love.
Yes. I mean, I appreciate Rania saying like, oh, I love your clarity, because I'm like, I feel like I have no clarity. My brain is a fog. So I'm so glad that it looks like clarity from the outside.
I get to step back and definitely inspiring. So you are in the midst, or basically at the tail end of the busiest season of the year, but clearly not at the tail end. You're doing holidays and corporate holidays. But tell us about the importance of the last few months of the year for you. How critical is it for your business? How do you think about it? Help us understand that.
Well, for me, you know, it's very much kind of a seasonal business. And so the bulk of our revenue comes from October to January. So it's such an important time of year. We really gear up for this time of year and try to just maximize revenue and sales as much as possible. So it's so important. It's crucial for us. And that's why it's so important for people to shop small, right? We're always like, of course, when there's like Small Business Saturday, right? But like every day you should be shopping small when you're buying these things. Everything you buy off Amazon and from Target and stuff, you can find that from a small business. You can find it from a Black-owned business. You can find it from a woman-owned business. And so I think sometimes it takes a little bit of effort and energy to do so, but it's worth it. And your dollar goes so much further. And then for me too, like the holidays, I feel like this is when people like create traditions, you know, like when the gifts mean more. You know, someone gives you like a really dope candle throughout the year and you're like, oh, this is good. But someone gives you like a dope candle during the holidays and you're like, this smell brings nostalgia. Like, this is part of my family. Like, we got to have the house lit up. You know, that's how I feel. And so I think like during this time when you're able to just deliver, this is when people are creating like habits. This is when people are like, this is part of our traditions that we're going to have every year. And that's what's really important too, because customer retention is everything, right? Like anybody can just buy one-offs and it's great. But when we have these customers that come back every single year and also every couple months and they're buying product, like that's what keeps us going. So this time of year is just like extra, extra special.
And that's what separates great business owners from businesses that do okay. And clearly why you've been so successful, just your obsession over the customer experience as you described.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it builds the community as well. So just to add on to supporting small businesses and why it's so important, according to Business Wire stats, 68% spent locally actually stays in the community, which is amazing as opposed to giant corporations. Also, 250 more percent is donated to community outreach programs or inner city nonprofits. And then also 64% of all new jobs are created by small businesses. So when you do support small, you are giving back to your community, which is so important, especially in times like this with shortages and just the world. I feel that sometimes feels like it's on fire. So it's great, not only for the holiday season, which is a super busy season, but all year round.
Amen.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Ashley? Jump in.
Oh, I was just saying amen.
Amen.
Saying amen.
So compelling. So compelling. So I think you've convinced a lot of us to think. Now we have the story and the mission and the passion behind what you're doing. And I think we're all very energized about your work and your product, but also just small business. They're fueling all the energy and passion we have for small business owners. So it's incredible to hear it. What would you tell our employees? You can share anything. You've shared a lot about the passion behind your work, the impact of helping small businesses. You could give us product advice, anything. What would you say to them?
For me, just, I think our product is a lot cleaner than regular jam. So switch out your Smuckers, go in your fridge right now, throw that Smuckers crap away. It's high sugar. Ours is just a much cleaner product. Like we've gotten so many people that have like diabetes and health issues. We're dealing with obesity as Americans. Like this is a really clean product. You can give it to your kid. Like I've spoon fed it to my babies before. Like it's so low in sugar, and just it's really fruit and spices. And I think like bringing a clean product to market so important right now with all the stuff that's on the shelves. And some people don't even read the labels, and we're just being fed like crap. So it's really, really important to have a clean product like this. So swap it out now.
I was going to ask you earlier what you do to find new customers, but all you need to do is be the spokesperson that you are, and I'm sure everyone converts. That was so compelling.
We go to our family's house and we open the fridge. We're like, really? Smuckers? Really? We just like throw it away. We're like, no, we're absolutely not.
And what about you, Paige?
So yeah, clean products are the way to go. I'm a super fan of clean products. And another note, not only I'm going, of course, discuss how amazing soy candles are, but in general, you should be reading your labels because you'd be surprised across the board how toxic items that you find in your home are. As far as soy is concerned, it is amazing because it's a renewable resource, and the candles that I produce last 3 times as long as paraffin. So basically paraffin wax is what you would find at like Yankee Candle, Bath and Body Works. It's a thicker wax, usually made of crude oil and a petroleum byproduct. So when it's burning, you see all that black soot in the air. So with Paige's Candle Co. candles, you see 90% less soot, it's eco-friendly, and it lasts 3 times as long. And of course, we do our best, like I mentioned before, to donate to inner city communities as well. So especially if you have breathing problems or asthma, anything like that, soy candles are just clean burning and better for you and the environment.
That was so informative and also so persuasive. You both convinced me to change out all my products, jam and candles. So thank you for sharing that. We're going to do a speed round, and then I'm going to open it up to, I'm going to turn it to Sarah, who's going to field questions from the group. And there's a huge number of questions, so get ready, team. But Ashley, what's your favorite jam and why?
I love the plum and rose. It's like floral and romantic, but this time of year, cranberry raspberry sage. It's a limited edition and it makes bomb cocktails.
Amazing. And Paige, what's your favorite product that you sell?
Lilac and eucalyptus, both the room and linen spray and candle. I developed lilac and eucalyptus in April of 2021. I remember the day so perfectly. I was trying to develop a lilac aroma and I had eucalyptus oil and I added about 15% and it's so refreshing. The floral notes paired with the eucalyptus. It's not super menthol like, it's just beautiful. And it's my favorite aroma of all time. I can't get enough.
You guys might be selling out of your two favorites right now. Ashley, what's the best piece of advice you've received?
Pour into yourself before you pour into others, and also learn to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. It helps.
Those are great pieces of advice. And Paige, what's a surprising or fun fact about you?
Well, fun, more of my interest. I would love to travel the world. I am resuming that now. I've traveled parts of Africa, Europe, and I'm hoping to do the rest of the world as soon as possible, given the restrictions. My next trip is to Malaysia and Thailand. Get some inspiration.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait to see what you produce coming out of that trip. This is an exciting question. Ashley, what's your least favorite chore?
By far, emptying the dishwasher. By far. Like, I will do anything, but I need my husband to empty the dishwasher. I can't wrap my head around it.
Does he do it?
Oh yeah, he does. He does anything. He's like the sweetest man on earth. So he'll do anything, but he knows like every day he's got to empty the dishwasher. I just can't do it. I love
it. It's a good combination, it sounds like. And then Paige, what's something you can't live without?
Plum and Rose by Trade Street, of course. That jam is delicious.
Come on, Paige, come through. Come on.
Before Ashley mentioned, I spoon feed it to my babies. I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, only for babies?
Oh no. Yeah.
I've been just eating it. I know it's kind of weird. It's kind of gross, but I don't care, whatever.
No. People do it all the time. People do it all the time.
I've been eating it and like I put it on some cheese and I put it on sweet potato and I was like, I want to make a cocktail, but I don't know if I'll have enough, but it's really, really good.
When there's like a quarter in the jar, I'm like, why would I put this back in the fridge? So I just spoon feed the rest of the jar. But we also found this cool thing. We call it bottom of the jar dressing. So when you have like a little bit left in your jar and it's like not enough to kind of like scoop out, you add like olive oil, salt, pepper, a little lemon juice, and like some fresh herbs, and you shake it up and it becomes like this bomb vinaigrette for your salad. So it makes like a super dope salad dressing. Yeah, it's so good.
I'm totally gonna do that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good way to use it up.
I will impress my guests and my family with that one.
Exactly.
Okay, last question, which is a fun one. What do you each love most about yourselves?
My undying determination. I will never give up. Never. And I appreciate that. Sometimes I'm like, wow, why am I like this? But I've grown to love that about myself.
Yeah, mine's the same. I'm gonna get it done. Like no matter what, I'm gonna get it done. Even if I don't think I am, it always gets done. So I just think like that persistence, it's what makes us successful.
Amazing. I have to tell you, this was for me the highlight of the week. It was just so inspiring to sit with you and to hear your stories. And we work really hard. Our teams work incredibly hard, and we do it for business leaders like you to fuel your dreams, to make everything you do possible. And so you made us all so proud of the work we do all day and the impact it has. So excited to be associated with you. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Sarah, who's going to facilitate Q&A. So I'm excited for a very full question and answer session.
Thanks, Rania. Ashley and Paige, this is so fun. I feel like I just want to hang out with you both all the time now. And I hope that you're taking a chance to look at the chat and seeing all of the love and enthusiasm from everyone who is here with us, because your stories are really resonating, and it's really, really fun to see folks connect with you as the customers that we're serving, and also just such inspirational leaders in your communities. So thank you so much for being with us. But we've got questions coming in. We've got about 10 minutes left. And so let's just jump right in. The first question is from Nathan, asking about the ideal size of your businesses. Are you trying to keep small, tight? Do you have an intent around a certain size, or are you trying to scale beyond where you are? And you shared about a little of your growth journey so far, but could you tell us what you're imagining there for your team and your business? Why don't we start with Ashley?
Mine's $100 million business. That is it, point blank, whatever it takes to get there. We kind of, right now we're a D2C, like a direct to consumer online brand. We're in about maybe 250 smaller shops across the nation. And we've been in the Whole Foods, we're getting on Target.com. So, but like actual retail we're taking a different approach. Online is kind of where it's at. And that's where we're trying to grow through that platform before we move to traditional retail. But I've seen a lot of brands sell for a lot of money. Cholula hot sauce sold for $800 million and they have like 3 hot sauces. So yeah, I mean, it's bomb hot sauce. Don't get it twisted, but yeah, I'm trying to be $100 million business. So that's where the growth is for me.
And when you think of that goal and what you're doing, does that mean that you need to be adding a certain number of people to your team or scaling in other ways? Like, what does that look like to keep up with that demand that you're hopefully generating?
I told you I stay up every night trying to, I don't know all the answers. I wish I did. No, I mean, we do have a plan, but right now, like pouring into the marketing portion is really, really important. Like, I talk to a lot of businesses who spend 20 grand a month on like Facebook ads and influencer marketing and things like that. And that's stuff that we have touched on, but haven't been able to spend much more than like 5 grand a month. I mean, it's a big spend, especially when you're starting off. You're not always going to get that ROI right away. So it's really tough as a small business to be able to put that kind of money into marketing to see the results that you want. So for us, like the next big step will be to get like a company that can act as a CMO for us, right? And kind of handle all of our marketing, our Facebook ads, help us out with our social media and help us do some influencer marketing and really grow the brand, like word of mouth, kind of like that.
Awesome. Well, we've got a little bit of word of mouth coming from this call as well. So
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate it.
Paige, how about you? How would you answer that goal to scale versus kind of stay small?
Well, at this moment, I've been very frugal as far as scaling too quickly. I just want to see how the market is because it's just so inconsistent right now with products and availability, accessibility. At this moment, though, my main focus is to eventually offer community centers that youth can come to have free art programs. So in order to do that, I'm trying to expand Paige's Candle Co. in various retail stores around the country, but more boutique focused, not necessarily larger scale. The whole mission behind Paige's Candle Co. is to work with smaller businesses and nonprofits. And so just expanding that network. And we're actually next year going to expand into digital products, which I think will help increase revenue because it's almost like a one and done, creating candle making workshops and just a how-to on how to manage a 6-figure candle making business. And so with that, the aim is through that revenue to expand and hopefully open community centers. That's long-term though. Long-term.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go to 2 just like very quick but critical questions from the Q&A for you, Ashley, which are 1, what is your favorite hot sauce from Trade Street Jam? 2, how long are your limited edition sets available for the jams? And then 3, do you have a drink recipe for the cranberry raspberry sage jam? So I'll ask. But favorite hot sauce?
Favorite hot sauce, pineapple hot sauce. Y'all have to try the pineapple hot sauce. It's that good, I promise.
Awesome. And how long will the limited edition sets be available?
So the cranberry jam will be available until it sells out, but it's usually gone by the beginning of the year or so. So I would definitely get on board with that.
Okay. And speaking of the cranberry raspberry sage jam, what is your favorite drink recipe?
Okay. It's called Manhattan Volume 1. And it's on the website. It's basically like a traditional Manhattan, which will be like your whiskey, your vermouth, and bitters, but it's got a little bit of red wine in there. And then you add lime juice and the cranberry. It's so beautiful. It's hands down my favorite drink to make with the cranberry. Manhattan Volume 1 on the website.
Volume 1.
Volume 2.
I know. You'll see after you have one, you're like, okay.
I love the folks who proactively bought their orders like early at this call and are now going back to like add more to their cart because we've learned as we've gone, it's like must add more. Paige, a question for you that came up earlier when you were talking about your 20s and starting a small business then and now, and the differences there. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what you learned from that first business and what is different now today?
Yeah, e-commerce experience and tax knowledge. In my early 20s, I didn't know even proper terms when it came to retail, line sheets, COGS, how to price things properly, and filing taxes in general. And so after I closed my first business, I worked as a waitress, which is super important to learn interpersonal skills. I worked for a home decor e-commerce company where I learned about vendor relationships and how to price things properly. And so after working for others, I then honed my skills to properly execute my business and vision. So it was ultimately life experience.
Awesome. Thank you. And then a question top of mind for this group, as you talked about the QuickBooks and MailChimp products that you use, can you tell us how you started using those? Was that referral from someone else, maybe past experience? Why did you choose these tools? Paige, why don't we have you start again for that one?
For MailChimp, I saw an ad, and when I would subscribe to newsletters, I saw the MailChimp logo at the base, even though that's removable. I guess those people didn't remove them. Also for QuickBooks, I remember the first time I saw QuickBooks was during my first business on television. I don't even watch TV anymore. It's so crazy. Back in like 2011, there was a commercial. I'm like, ooh, what's that? And I remember having that in my mind. So when I entered when I formed Pages Candle Co, I just remember that and started using it.
Awesome. Good to know the TV ads have an impact. Those are always hard to quantify. Yeah. Yeah. Ashley, how about you?
For me, it's been word of mouth. Like everybody that I know was using QuickBooks. Like I don't remember anybody even telling me about anything else. So I knew from the beginning I would be using QuickBooks. And I think for MailChimp, it's actually what Paige said. I think I just followed a lot of newsletters, big and small. And I would see MailChimp at the bottom. And this is like back when I was just like, oh, I guess I'll start a newsletter. And I was super inconsistent with it. And I was sending like one a month, maybe. And it was just like all over the place. But I remember being like, okay, well, MailChimp is the way that I'm going to do it. So
we're so glad. We're so glad. And excited to have you back on payroll again soon too. As I've shared with you, that's one of the teams that I work with. And so you share your feedback as you jump in. We're always here to hear. Here's a question for you from Sarab, which is, given the current and upcoming tough macroeconomic conditions, how are you preparing? Is there a way that you're thinking about your growth and forecasting that growth over the next year or two? Does that change anything about how you're operating? Paige, how are you thinking about that?
Through Scotch. Other laughs. Okay. I created a budget with my accountant as far as really crunching numbers and being as frugal as possible, because there are a lot of inconsistencies with the market. For me, like I mentioned before, my specific jars have been heavily stocked, which is amazing. My jars, though, are sourced from Taiwan and China. And anytime there's an issue that happens in these regions, my jars are affected. But something that increased significantly was my wax. It rose up 25%. Fragrance oils have increased 50 cents on the ounce, and we order usually 5 pounds worth. So it's really just about, I'm investing more in marketing, which I have been seeing great ROI, but I'm just being as frugal as possible just to see what Q1 is going to bring, because back in the summer, I had a hunch that a lot of layoffs were going to happen, which are happening. So I'm just really keeping it in stride and taking it slow and being conservative, because the last thing that I want to do is lay off my team. So it's just about hoping for the best and marketing as best as I can.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like a very wise approach. Ashley, how about you?
For us, we're trying to stay as cash positive as we can. We already run a very lean business, which is probably how I've stayed in business this long, even through some really tough times. So when you do that, though, it's really hard to find places to cut, right? Because we don't have a lot of like excess expenditures. So for us, it's trying to raise money, like I said, y'all go to the WeFunder. Go to WeFunder.com/TradeStreetJamCo and donate some money. You know, you can do as little as $100, but we're really just trying to do the crowdfunding and so we can get money in the bank. I think for us, like as part of being a small business owner is taking risks, and like we still want to take risks, even though like it's been a tough time. I told you, like, we want to grow, right? We want rapid growth. And so we still have to like put money into marketing and do these things that are riskier. But without money in the bank, you can't do so. So for us, it's about raising the money, getting as much sales as we can, especially during the holiday season, and kind of building the bank account back up from this like tough year, and then being able to take some calculated risks with those funds and put it into marketing, put it into the influencers, and put it into some innovation, introducing some new products, and keep it moving. It's really tough when money's tight. You have to be that much more calculated with every expenditure. But if you don't do it, you're never gonna grow. So we got to do it. We got to push through it.
Yeah, I love that. Such a good inspiration, that taking risks while being, of course, very thoughtful and wise as well. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today, and to everyone who dialed in for this pop-up. We really appreciate your time, Paige and Ashley. We've loved hearing from you. And thank you just for spending this Friday with us.
Thank you for
having us. Thank you guys. Yeah, thanks for having us.